Hey guys, welcome back to the Struggleville 2 YouTube channel. For this video, we're going to change the tie rod ends and the sleeves on the old 1966 Caprice. Now, tie rod ends are one of those car parts that no matter how old you are watching this, whether you are 10 or 100, this design has been around longer than you. The basic principles of tie rod ends haven't changed. So, if you got a little back and forth in your steering wheel, could be the tie rod ends. Could throw your alignment off. It controls the toe in and toe out of the wheels. So for this video, we're going to swap out the old, throw in some news, and I'm going to show you a tool that'll make your life a hell of a lot easier if you got to change these out yourself. First thing we got to do is take off that tire. Alright, so you can see the outer and the inner tie rod ends with the sleeve there. First thing we need to do is pull the cotter pin out, and then we'll take the nut off. Now your new one should come with new pins, but mine, two did, two didn't. You can buy packages with assortments, even Harbor Freight has them for a couple of bucks. This one, we just recently took this tie rod end off, so it's a brand new pin, so I'm just going to reuse that one. But if yours are old, rusty, and crusty, it's probably worth putting a new one on, but hopefully your tie rod ends actually come with new ones like they're supposed to. Pins out, time for the nut. So you can see the nuts off, and this is normally where the fun starts, because you have to get this shaft off of here. Now, if you're replacing the tie rod end and you're not just taking it off to do some other kind of work on the car, you can hammer on that and not worry too much about damaging the threads because you're throwing it out anyways. But you're also going to want to hammer on this collar here to break loose any rust that's holding it together. You may get a torch or a heat gun to try and heat it up. That'll help break loose. You can spray some penetrating oil of some sort in there to try and get it off. But what's going to really make your life easier, if you get this gear wrench tool that I got here. You slide this thing on and tighten it, and it just pops it right off. Now this one should be pretty easy no matter what, because like I said, it was just recently taken off. But let me show you how this thing works. So you're going to get it on top there, where that little leg is underneath between the tie rod end and your mount. And then you're going to tighten this down, and it's going to drive the shaft downward. Alright, I had to reposition a little bit to get a better grip on it. And there you go. Off. Now if you're just doing your outer tie rod ends, this is the part where you would take this off of the sleeve up here. You take the tie rod end off of the sleeve, so you'd loosen this nut here and then twist it off. But because this controls your front end alignment, as you're turning it off, you want to count how many threads that you're turning, so you put the next one in, the new one, in the exact same position or as close as you can. So do half, one, half, two, half, three, and just count them out till it comes all the way out, and write it down or something so you don't forget, and then you're going to put in the next one. Since I'm doing both, I want to leave the overall length the same. I don't want to mess around with this. I'm going to take off the inner now, and then I'll pull out the whole thing and match up my new to the old. We're going to do the same thing to the inner, but the tripod don't fit under there, so I'm going to do the best I can here. Well, even though I couldn't really get it with the camera, see the aftermath of the little guy. We got the old one here, we got the new one here. Now we're just going to make sure the length of the new one is the same as the old one. And you adjust the length just by screwing each of these guys in or out. Started out eyeballing it and then actually got the tape measure out to measure it. We're at 18 5/8 on the button. And you know what? After I do this and the strut rods, I'm going to get a front end alignment anyways, but it'll be good enough to get us there. Alright, we got the inner one in. You want to get it nice and tight. Put a new cotter pin in. It's good to have an idea of where the holes in the stud are before you put it on, so you kind of get an idea of how you got to line up. And by the way, the old castle nuts that you took off, keep those things. You got a bin, you keep nuts and bolts and everything, because they're kind of a specialty deal, and if you're in the middle of a project and you get a bad one or you strip one out or something, you're going to be glad you had those spares. Now, let's work on the outer right there. If it sounds any different now, it's because I gave up on corded microphone. That was just being too much of a pain. Of course, this new stuff is metric, but the back one was an 18. I'm putting this on thing. I mean, that feels a little sloppy. Yeah, the front one's a 17. Lined up. The camera's in the way, so I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm looking at the screen trying to figure it out. Alright, gotta tighten up these collars and grease them. Time for grease. Now for greasing this thing, that back one had the bands on it, so I'm just going to grease it until the rubber starts bulging out a little bit. Then after I see it bulge, maybe give it one more squirt. This other kind where it's just the rubber boot sitting over the top of it, it'll spill out a little bit on the bottom edge, then we're good. And that's why the Braun light sucks. They put the world's worst battery in it, and it goes dead. Put the tire on, and the other side. Moving on to the passenger side, check out that tire. Now, once the tie rod ends are done, and new Global West strut rods are in, we get in tires, rims, and alignment. First, get these tie rod ends done. What size was that? Looks like that one. Time for the handy dandy tool. Heck, that one was so easy we didn't even need a wrench, just popped off. Kind of. Alright, time to work on the inside. This is the best I can do on the inside one because I have to commandeer the space where the camera was sitting before, but you can see just the back side of the tie rod in there just under the frame. We'll see if you catch anything. Yeah, piece of cake laying there on the ground. Now, I will tell you what started happening. This thing didn't have a real good grip on it. It was kind of, these tabbies on the end were slipping off. So once that started happening, I stopped and grabbed the hammer and just started tapping a little bit here and tapping on the tie rod end and then on the head of the bolt here, or that stud. And it only took 5 or 6 taps and this thing popped right off. Got the new one all set up. Measured it off the last one to get it the same length. I'm ready to throw it back on there. Alright, got them back in there. Need to tighten up the sleeve bolts here. Grease it. Put the tire back on. This job's done. Nice and tight. Of course I got one collar facing the wrong way or the other way. But hey, that just adds character. And we're greased. Well, that's another job in the books, boys. Next up, we're going to be changing out the rear coil springs there. So stay tuned for that. We'll get some projects on the old Corvette going. Maybe some projects on the ZR2. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give the video a like, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I'll see you guys next time.